Welcome to Knife Thoughts. This video is going to be my full review of these knives, and these are the Lake Champlain Barlow by Traditional Pocket Knives, or C. Reisner Cutlery. So these were sent to me by Austin of C. Reisner Traditional Pocket Knives, and it's a knife that I was really looking forward to since seeing the prototypes at Blade Show. So I've known Austin for a while. Got to meet him at the Great Eastern Cutlery Rendezvous and have talked back and forth. His grandfather started C. Reisner Cutlery, had a lot of really great queen knives and some other SFOs made, and this knife, the Lake Champlain Barlow, is named after the ship that Austin's grandfather served on. So it's a really cool connection, and I think that it's really special for Austin, and it's something that I was really excited about since seeing these prototypes because I love Barlows. So Austin has done some other exclusive slip joints before. So here is the Ohio River Jack, or one version of the Ohio River Jack, and then an exclusive version of the QSP Hedgehog. He actually has another exclusive version of the Hedgehog coming in fat carbon, so that's always really cool. This is the same type material here. So he's done some SFOs in the past, but I love Barlows, and this is a Barlow somewhere between a normal size Barlow and a granddaddy Barlow. So I was really excited to see these Lake Champlain Barlows coming, and there were several different variations, but the main difference here being the clip point versus the sheet foot. And you can see some of them had, again, these carbon fiber type covers in a couple different variations, and then there were some in pure titanium or solid titanium and in saw cut. And so that's something that was really interesting to me because I have really enjoyed Austin's jig titanium knives. There's that Hedgehog again. Here's my jig titanium Ohio River Jack. And then he also had some modern knives done in jig titanium, like this Penguin Plus. So I really enjoyed the jig titanium knives that Austin has had made, and was really excited to see saw cut titanium because I'm not sure it's something I've ever seen before, and it makes sense, right? Why not do saw cut titanium if you're going to do jig titanium, especially on a Barlow where, in my opinion, saw cut is really one of, if not the most classic cover. So for example, here is a Great Eastern Cutlery Barlow in saw cut bone. This is a number 14 TC Barlow. Really love this knife. Thanks to my friend Rick for sending that. And then here is my Sean Yaw Barlow in this beautiful kind of teal seafoam green type bone, saw cut bone. So I really like saw cut, and I was really excited to see that Austin was doing a saw cut titanium, and it really doesn't disappoint. I think that it's really well done. It's, somewhat random looking. It's not like they're evenly spaced. These lines here, they go right almost up to the bolster, or the faux bolster, we'll say, which is, really similar to a saw cut bone handle would be, or how a saw cut bone handle would be. And I think it really looks good. It does look like saw cut, or as close to it as I think you could probably get on titanium. So I think they did a really good job of that. And speaking of this faux bolster, I recently posted on the Barlow Bearcat Club Instagram a little infographic I made about what is and isn't a Barlow. And a Barlow is a regular jackknife, or a jackknife with an extended or an elongated bolster. Sometimes you hear 1/3 the length of the handle, and it doesn't always have to be exactly that, but it's an elongated bolster. And I think that things like this, where technically this isn't a bolster, it's an integral handle, this is a bolster, but I think that it's in the spirit of a Barlow. It's a faux bolster. insinuates a bolster, you might say, and I would definitely count it as a Barlow still, you know, 100%. So I think that's really cool to have this kind of integral titanium handle on a modern slip joint, and these are modern slip joints. So as you can see, they are screw construction rather than pinned. Again, I'll give you a comparison to a GEC. Here's another GEC Barlow, good size comparison. This is an 86, one of GEC's larger Barlows. I believe the second largest and the largest GEC branded Barlow, they did do the Granddaddy Barlow for Remington that was larger, but this is their largest Barlow. You can see the Lake Champlain Barlow is bigger. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. But the pin construction versus the screw construction, the screw construction is more modern. And then also this has stop pins. So I really like that. It makes it so you don't have to worry about blade wrap. Sometimes it can make the sound a little different. So I'll show you a comparison to the sound of another modern slip joint Barlow. So this is a Jack Wolf Knives Midnight Jack. And you can hear it sounds a little more similar to a GEC just because it doesn't have that pin there to stop the blade. But what the pin does is it makes it so you don't have to worry about blade wrap. I hate blade wrap. It's all too common on GEC knives, so it's nice to not have to worry about that. And I think that these Lake Champlain Barlows sound a little bit more like, you know, a knife without a pin, stop pin, than, you know, maybe something like, again, the Ohio River Jack. Not a whole lot, I might be, you know, imagining it, but mostly on the close. We've got a big flock of geese going by, so I don't know if you can hear that or not, but the migration is going on. But compare the close, kind of muted on this compared to, it's a little less muted, I feel like, on the Lake Champlain Barlow. So I do like that, you know, nothing like the walk and talk of a traditional slip joint, but I really like not having to worry about blade wrap. These also have kind of a modern take on a long pole. You can see that it's on both sides, whereas a traditional long pole is really only ever on the show side here. But it's nice to have it on both sides because it makes it so you can get even more grip for pinching the knife open. And also it makes it a little bit more friendly to left-handed people. And that's true on the clip point also. I'll show you where it sits. And both of these are pinchable for me, so I don't have to get my thumbnail into that. And in fact, I think that it's easier to just pinch it, open it, really easy, even with this clip point that sits a little deeper there. So I like that. I like a using slip joint to be pinchable. It's just easier to open. You don't have to worry about if your fingernails are cut short. And the action on these are really nice. No blade play on either of them. Nice solid 6, I would say, pull. Not super strong, but definitely not light. Just really well done. And QSP does a great job of these slip joints. Again, you know, showing these previous ones that Austin has had done. Really, you know, nicely made. I hope that I'm not wrong that these are also made by QSP. That would be bad. But definitely they are well made. Well centered on both of them also. Actually, the clip point is a second or blem, whatever Austin called it, and it's just because of this spot here where they sharpened a little too far into the sharpening choil. So definitely not a huge issue. I mean, I might notice that. I guess I probably would notice it if I was, you know, if I bought the knife, but I don't think that it would be a big deal to me. The fit of the scales on this one with the carbon fiber is really well done. Really nicely done. The back spring on both is maybe just not exactly perfectly flush, but it's real close. Real close. You know, I can kind of catch my fingernail there, but I think it's more, I don't even know. There's not a gap, but not 100% perfectly flush. You can kind of catch, but very little. very little catch there. And you know, a similar style of construction to the other exclusives that Austin has had made. I really like this sheepfoot. It's kind of an interesting sheepfoot. It's a very blunt sheepfoot. So I'm actually carrying a GEC sheepfoot Barlow today, my first GEC, but I'll show you the Midnight Jack again, and then I'll give a little cameo of my Lynch leather Barlow Bearcat Club slip, and then here is a GEC sheepfoot. Now this one's been sharpened a lot, but you can see that the Lake Champlain is a little bit more abrupt, just a little bit kind of blunter, maybe I would say, and then certainly less of a pointy tip than on the Midnight Jack. So I do like the look of that sheepfoot. It's a very, you know, be good for pool cutting, all that kind of typical stuff that you would use a sheepfoot for. Now the clip point is also kind of an interesting, you know, the clip itself is relatively short, but it has an upward turn of the spine. So, you know, in comparison to the line of the handle here, it doesn't come straight out, it comes kind of upward. And it's a little different than, you know, how GEC does their clip points. So I'll show you this 14 in comparison. You can see how the spine is a little bit more straight out of, or even downward from the line of the handle there. And that's something that is actually similar to how Austin designed the spear point on the Ohio River Jack. It's kind of upward. I don't prefer it myself, and I you know, mentioned that on these ORJs too. I don't generally prefer it. I think Case also does some like that, so it's just a, you know, a personal preference thing. I still think that it's a good looking clip point overall. I just, you know, would prefer it didn't turn upward quite as much. But I really do like the look of this carbon fiber here, this Gecko, I believe is what it's called, carbon fiber. There's so many names of these, you know, handle scales. I should know it. I should have it written down for the video, of course. But truth be told, I don't. So, you know, it's very cool looking though. Blue, yellow, green together. I like the layers. And like I say, there were several different versions of it. This is a big knife. So to kind of circle back to that, I'll show you with that one there in comparison to, again, let's put it right there, Midnight Jack, which is not a small Barlow. Again, to the 15, GEC 15. The 15 is much smaller, but even more smaller is the, again, TC 14. Quite a bit smaller, very different in size. And then I'll show you one more time the GEC 86, one of GEC's larger Barlows, or I guess the largest GEC branded Barlow, as I mentioned. And you can see 86 is getting close to it in size, but the Lake Champlain is still longer and taller also. So definitely a larger Barlow, I would say. Something that you can have really as your main knife. You know, I often carry a modern knife and a traditional knife, but if you're someone who only carries a traditional or is comfortable with that, enjoys that, I think that the Lake Champlain Barlow would definitely be plenty big enough. I'll give you a comparison to a modern knife, just one that I'm reviewing here soon, the Civivi Cubit. And you can see edgewise you have more on the Lake Champlain Barlow. And this is a pretty typical EDC sized modern knife. You know, I tend to carry a larger modern knife, but definitely you have a full amount of blade on the Lake Champlain. So I think it's a really cool knife. I've really enjoyed it. I'm really happy to have this saw cut titanium one in my rotation, in my collection, because I think it's really cool and pretty unique. And I think Austin did a really good job of designing these. Like I said, I think it's special to him, you know, being that it's named after his grandfather, who had a big influence on him and his running the business of traditional pocket knives. So I'm really happy to see it come to the market. It seemed like people were really excited for them. I meant to get this video out sooner when they were coming out, but was sick for about 4 weeks and couldn't get to it, and then need to get a better filming setup also. But I've really enjoyed these knives. I really appreciate Austin sending them along. I have several knives from Traditional Pocket Knives that I'm going to be giving away soon. If you've made it 15 minutes and 15 seconds into this video, I really appreciate it, first of all, but also keep an eye out. I'm going to be doing some giveaways, either just on YouTube or YouTube and Instagram. Not exactly sure how I'm going to do it, but I've got several knives from TPK to give away. Again, thanks to Austin. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel, click the bell and select all so you know when I post new videos. Check out my website where I post articles on knives like this and knife related topics. And last but not least, as always, don't forget to go out and do good.